is just running a few minutes behind of the weather as well. So she should be here in just about 10 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the first matter of business, just to, each day I'll advise you how much time you've used the day before. Once you run out of time, that's it. So you can use your time however you see fit. You each have 17 hours to present your case. Plaintiff, you used 80 minutes of your time. Defendant, you used 125 minutes of your time.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. We left off yesterday. I said, think about it overnight if you have any stipulations to any exhibits. Are the two of you going to stipulate to any exhibits, or were you just going to continue to proceed in our current fashion? Any stipulations?
No, Your Honor.
Very well. With regard to phones, I know I gave everyone the admonition last night about not recording with phones. We don't want them visible so that there's no false allegations made against you. So make sure that they're just out of sight. And then the last matter, and this, I have no preference one way or the other, just brainstorming. Our lunchtime is from noon to 1:30. If you prefer to have a shorter lunch, noon to 1 o'clock, we can do that. Then we'd end the day at 4. If that works better in your schedules. If not, we'll keep it as is. So if you want to talk amongst each other, decide which works best for you, leave it as is, or shorten the lunch hour to start back up and go from 1 to 4 instead of 1:30 to 4:30.
Will that still allow the jury sufficient time to eat lunch?
It should,
An
yeah.
hour? Okay.
Whatever you prefer, and then we'll run it by them. If they don't like it, if everyone agrees, great. If one person has a problem with it, we're going to keep it the same.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
Do you have a preference with regard to your lunchtime?
No, 1 hour time.
Okay,
Sure.
we'll run it by the jurors. If they all agree, if all 10 say they like that better, great, then we'll do that. If one has a problem with it, then we'll just leave things as is. So, unfortunately, one, because of the weather, is running a little bit behind, so you're free to walk around, make calls, do whatever you need to do. We'll wait 5 to 10 minutes for them to get here. Thank you. And, sir, did you want to call your witness in and get him ready on the stand for cross-examination? Sure, you can bring him in.
Thank you.
Sure. And sir, if you wanted to grab exhibit 136, that's where you left off yesterday, you're welcome to grab that as well.
So the exhibit worksheet's just a new copy?
Yeah, what they do, the pros do every day, what you'll see on there is that they've typed up what was admitted yesterday. So if you see exhibits 1 through 4, 77, 30, 134, 135 shows that they were all admitted yesterday. So each day they're wonderful. They update us with what happened the day before. So that way, whatever's admitted today will be updated and we'll get a new update tomorrow.
Okay.
Hello, sir. Get yourself comfortable. We're just waiting for one more juror.
Okay, thank you. Your Honor, while we have a few moments waiting
Yes, sir.
for the jury, I'd like to bring something up. Mr. Casavelli, in his opening statement, mentioned that he had some kind of partnership arrangement with the Johansons or that he was a member of their LLC. Your Honor, this has never been disclosed. I printed out their 5th Rule 26.1 disclosure statement, and there's no mention in it of there being a partnership or a membership in an LLC. And so I'm looking for a ruling to exclude that evidence on the basis of non-disclosure.
Do you wish to respond?
His exhibit 52,
What is it?
his exhibit 52, he's submitting, is the operating agreement that made me a member of Garbdon LLC.
The appointment.
So it appears that the issue is in dispute, so your request is denied. I imagine you're probably going to have to elicit that information from your client on the stand.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Yeah, go ahead, you can check with the 9 that are waiting back there, sure.
Your Honor, he did tell Judge Blanchard if it was one of his exhibits, he would stipulate on that.
I can't force him to stipulate here.
I understand, but just regarding the information.
Thank you.
Your Honor,
Sure.
will it be sufficient if I leave my phone up here so it can be plugged in and remain charged in case I need to use it for a hotspot? I've got my hard drive, external hard drive covering it, so it's,
I was gonna say, as long as the camera portion is down, and I know, Ms. Caselli, you needed to charge your phone yesterday. As long as the camera part is down, I don't have a problem with that.
All right,
I just
so-
want the camera part up.
so it's okay to have it where
That's
it's at?
fine, that's
All right.
fine.
I did leave it up yesterday because the phone has a tendency to get hot when it's enclosed.
Just, if that's the case, just make sure It's just turned the opposite direction that the camera's not pointing out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm still waiting. The other 9 jurors were okay with it.
And is number 10 still notifying you?
She's still not here, but when I spoke with her, she was parking.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's bring them in. And did 10 agree as well?
Everybody's in agreement.
Let's go.
All rise.
Thank you. Please be seated. Let the record reflect the presence of our jurors, counsel, parties, as well as the witness. Thank you, everyone, for our agreement today. It appears that we are going to leave court early at 4 o'clock. Lunch will be from 12 to 1, and that was a unanimous agreement here today. We left off yesterday with Mr. Casavelli performing his cross-examination on the witness, and that's where we'll pick up today. Go ahead, sir.
You examined this document yesterday, document exhibit 136.
Okay,
You familiar with it?
yes, I am. Okay, yes.
Does it request information according to exhibits 1 through 14 that you said BBK produced?
So what it states here is, I'm looking at the subpoena, and it states particular attention to a subpoena for documents related to file 10-17-2287 and all documents that are related to that.
No to admit to exhibit.
Any objection to the admission of 136?
Your Honor, to the subpoenas at the beginning and the end, I have no objection to whatever's in between that looks to be internal email conferencing between internal staff at Compass Bank. I do object because I don't think anybody's laid foundation for that.
Your objection is sustained. You've laid the foundation for the subpoenas. You haven't discussed any of the material in between those two subpoenas. So lay the foundation for the material between the two subpoenas and move to admit.
The information between the two subpoenas there, is that communication that would be produced by BBVA Bank in relation to any requests in the subpoena?
Yes, it is an email from BBVA that is from our legal department, and it's sent to the subpoena research department at BBVA.
Move to admit.
Any objection to the admission of 136?
No, Your Honor.
136 is admitted.
Okay.
Thank you.
May we conference, Your Honor? May we approach?
Yes. White noise, please.
This is a subpoena, at least on the top, that was generated by our office. I'd be willing to stipulate to the first 6 pages. However, after this is documentation that they superimposed on here. This is the original stamp. They imposed a separate stamp on here.
It's a mere comparison from the other subpoenas.
So they're doing their own, they're putting their own stuff in here with our subpoena and
It's,
trying to get
it seals, he's
Do
already
you
looked at
have,
it.
I'm sorry, show me the pages that were added, you say to your subpoena?
This was added because it
Okay,
didn't have a
do
double
you have your
stamp.
subpoena here? Do you have your copy of this?
I believe so.
Would you please produce that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
It'll be a first.
You can't talk to me until he comes up.
We're gonna stall.
You're welcome to have a seat until he finds it. You can turn that off.
Did he get that one?
Oh, he found it. Okay, come on back up. Thank you. Can you see that? Thank you, sir. White noise. Emma, could you hit the noise? Thanks.
I believe his is a conform copy. His is the conform copy, not the original submitted.
We can explain the need for it as well.
The material can't. This would be added on top of our subpoena, and he wouldn't be able to address
But he
it.
would have knowledge.
He's in risk assessment.
Yes.
He filters it to the right department. That's what he said yesterday in testifying.
So, hang on, hang tight.
This isn't going to be included. You added these pages to this document.
It's comparing the seals from our subpoenas to his. That document is conformed. This is the one he stated he submitted to BBVA to produce 1017-2287 production.
You're saying, no. It clearly has been doctored.
I'm saying this is page. I know this is that we've compared the seals on his original subpoena.
So what are you doing with this, is what I need to know.
This is the subpoena from ours compared to his subpoena on his original that submitted to BBVA that produced the documents he's claiming.
So you're trying to get this stuff in.
Well, it's just a simple comparison. I don't have to have it. I can do
These are
it.
two, what you have here is two exhibits. You have the real exhibit and then your attachments.
Okay, that's the one he said is the real one that he sent to the BBVA bank.
Yeah,
This matches this.
That's a conformed copy.
it doesn't say original on it.
Doesn't matter. A conformed copy just means one's original, then there's copies of the actual,
Exactly, but
So-
you're misunderstanding me.
okay?
He alleged the original was sent to BBVA Bank. Okay, I requested a copy from him. He said he didn't have it, but that's a subpoena. Okay, BBVA did eventually give it to us in 2019, and that's what they sent us,
Okay.
stating that this is what he supposedly submitted.
So you're welcome to submit this because what your point
Okay.
is you're trying to show this, is
Yes.
what you're trying to show. You don't need this.
No,
Not really.
it's
This
about the
does.
I can
seals,
compare with the
too.
other one.
So I have no problem with you moving forward. This can't be attached to it. That's what the issue is that I have.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you?
And
Because then
that's all I'm
Okay,
asking.
Yeah.
well,
So-
look on the next page then,
So-
because he's gonna have an objection to that one too.
you have to mark this as a separate exhibit. Because,
This is his conformed copies, the one you have in your hand. There's two conformed copies. When you overlay those right there, there's identical stamping, no variance.
okay, so what is your point? Your point is that you have the original and this is a conformed copy.
And he sent two of these to the Arizona State Bar, who
Okay.
forwarded them to us.
Okay.
And when we compared them, the stamps on these conformed copies are identically spaced.
And they're
Okay.
hand
Okay,
stamped.
they was never sent to BVA. This one was. There's just issues
That
with
the
them.
original was sent to be.
That's
So-
what they're
So you
saying.
don't need this part. All right, so
Not really.
let me just ask the clerk, because I can't separate exhibits, so let me just see what I need to do with this first. Hang on. Okay. All right, so here's the red. I'm not gonna let you do this. This is the red. Do you need to do anything? Okay, so let's do that. Thank you, got it. Okay, so we want to keep this together, and then you need to mark that as a separate. Okay, so may I have that? Can you use this right now while you're marking that? Okay, so she needs to mark that as a separate exhibit. You're welcome to continue to talk about this exhibit. I'm going to give you this one back. All right, thank you so much. Go ahead, you can turn off the white noise. You're welcome to talk about this. We'll mark that other one if you need it. The clerks will have it.
Okay, so go ahead.
Yes, sir, go ahead. You can turn that off. This one?
Review that document.
Tell me that number, I'm sorry. Can you tell me that exhibit number,
Oh,
please?
it's 121.
121, correct. Thank you.
Mr. Casavelli, can I get you by the mic, please? Can I get you by the mic, please?
Sorry.
No, that's okay, thank you.
Or speak louder.
You can yell. I have a pretty good loud voice.
You do.
Okay, so we just reviewed Exhibit 121.
Do you recognize this document?
It's the first time that I'm seeing this document, but it's a subpoena.
What's it requesting information on?
It's requesting any and all records related to accounts. And did you want me to?
Does it have a production number on it or anything like that? Identifying what it's.
Well, it's any and all records related to an accounts that has Garpon LLD and has or LLC, excuse me, and the account number. And then it has any and all records related to accounts for Gary Johansson and or Donna Johansson, and then Nicholas Casabelli and Nicolina Castelli. For the period of March 1st, 2015 through October 31st, 2017.
Would that date be related to exhibits you examined yesterday, 1 through 14?
Yes.
Move to admit the evidence.
Any objection to the admission of Exhibit 121?
No, Your Honor.
121 is admitted.
Let me turn this one on. Oh, it just comes on?
Turn the light on for him, please.
This doesn't have redacted count numbers.
Does his matching exhibit have redacted account numbers? They're marked. Go ahead and use it.
You stated on here that it requested, on this exhibit, that it requested multiple people or accounts, production, to the subpoena.
Yes, there's three different, there's the limited liability company, as well as accounts for Gary and or Donna Johansson, and also in number 3, all the accounts, any and all records, related to accounts held by Nicholas Casavelli and Nicolina Castelli.
Is it normal practice of BBVA Bank to issue multiple account productions on one subpoena?
I'm not familiar with that.
You testified yesterday, did you not, that it comes to you and you separate to which departments, whether it's for a subpoena or request, correct?
Correct. So when we get a request for a subpoena, we need to forward that to our subpoena processing area, and then they process the subpoena there.
Was there anything on this document when you reviewed it that stated this is what produced exhibits 1 through 14 yesterday?
No, except the exhibits 1 through 14. This would not include everything that I remember seeing yesterday on 1 through 14. There was at least another business account, I believe, and but I just recognized the names matching what were parts of number 1 through 14, that these were included in that.
And who's the requester on this document?
So this is from Provident Law, Christopher J. Charles and Brian L. Easton on the upper left.
Okay. The court case here.
Okay.
Who would be requesting in this litigation?
So you have been subpoenaed by Gary T. Johansson and Donna J. Johansson, whose attorney's name is Brian Easton. So that's who created the subpoena.
And yesterday, did you not testify that the 1017-2287 possibly was a subpoena?
Yeah, when I looked at the affidavit, that number appeared on the lower left of the affidavit. Subpoena was not spelled out. So at first glance, I did not want to say that was a subpoena number because I was not aware of that. But in later documents I saw, it appeared that it possibly was a subpoena number.
And who requested this alleged subpoena?
The subpoena that I'm looking at now?
Yes, sir.
It's been subpoenaed by Gary T. Johansson and Donna J. Johansson. His attorney name is Brian L. Easton.
And on this document, who's the recipient and being billed for it?
Brian L. Easton with Provident Law.
It's addressed to Mr. Easton. Who's the actual billing in regards to production?
Objection, Your Honor.
Can you rephrase your question?
In regards to the 1017-2287 number, is there any names beside that number that it would be suggesting that that was the requester?
The business account name to the right of that number is the Garbdon LLC.
Were they the requester in the subpoena? In this subpoena that alleges that it produced exhibits 1 through 14? Plaintiff's exhibits?
I don't see, and when I'm looking at that they're the requester, I believe that appeared on the second page, if I'm not mistaken.
This is requesting information, is it not, from these people? Production for these people or businesses?
I don't know if I understand the question, but this is, on this page, it lists what documents is being requested, with number 1 being the Garbdon LLC account.
But Garbdon LLC is not the requester, as you stated here, correct?
Correct.
Can you explain why the BBVA would issue an invoice basically in Garbdon LLC's name, and yet they're not the requester?
No, I'm not sure why that would be.
So would you say that this document may not be tied to this subpoena?
I would not know that.
Well, it has the 1017-2287 number. You said the affidavit contained on it in handwritten yesterday, correct?
Well, that number was on the affidavit. Again, I'm not sure if that's a subpoena number. It was hard to read the part of it before the number.
Well, is this a subpoena receipt then?
Well, this is an invoice, and it does have that number and says Garbdon LLC. But I'm not aware if that would just be the only, for example, business that would be tied to that number. If there'd be other documents or accounts that are tied to that number. But this invoice does just reflect the 1017-2287 along with the Garbdon LLD name.
Is the requester named on here being invoiced?
So the individual that is asking for the amount to be remitted is Lisa Moore at BVA Compass.
That's not what I asked you, sir. I asked you who requested this over here. You read it.
Yeah, that was Gary T. Johansson and Donna J.
And
Johansson.
then I ask you, why would an invoice be sent to Garbdon when they're not the requesters? Is that normal practice?
I am unsure of that.
You're in risk assessment, correct?
Yes.
These would come through your department and you would look them over before dispersing them to the proper department?
No, if we get a subpoena, we do look them over to see what we've been served with. You know, for example, we get a subpoena and then we forward them on immediately to our subpoena processing department, but we do not process these documents.
Is BBVA supposed to validate the subpoena?
We get the subpoena if it's served, you know, to us in person, for example. And
You're evading the question, sir. Please answer my
Allow him to
question.
answer the question. You can ask him another follow-up question. Finish your
I may not be understanding, but if we receive a subpoena, for example, in a branch, locally, we look to see what that is. You know, for example, if it says subpoena and such, and then we would forward it on to the correct area of the bank for it to be processed.
Which protocol are you referring to at a local branch? PNC or BBVA?
It could be either. We could, with BBVA or PNC, we can receive the subpoena in various manners. So it could go directly to the subpoena processing department. It could be faxed to them. It could be emailed. In some cases, it's actually delivered to one of our branches.
Excuse me, Nick.
You stated yesterday that CT Corporation was a statutory agent for BBVA. Is that correct?
Well, I just read that off the document I was sent. I was not familiar with that, but based on what you presented, I read what was on that document.
Would
Yes.
CT Corporation be statutory agent for BBVA Bank to receive service of process for subpoenas?
Asked and answered, Your Honor.
Overruled. I'll allow it if you can answer.
I would want to see that document again because I was not familiar with that.
Which one?
The one that,
You need to tell us what exhibit you're showing him, please.
Exhibit 136 and 135.
Thank you.
so on these are both a service of process transmittal, and it states on here CT Corporation, and it says regarding process served in Arizona for BBVA or BBVA USA. The other one also says CT Corporation, process served in Arizona for Compass Bank. So based on what I reviewed on these yesterday, I could see that CT Corporation served these documents for BBVA and for Compass Bank, but I was not familiar with CT Corporation before I reviewed these yesterday.
That's what I asked. So they are the agent for BBVA, correct? According to the documents.
According to this, it says process served CT Corporation for BBVA and for Compass Bank.
There is a direct relation between CT Corporation and BBVA Bank, is it not?
Well, I don't know if CT Corporation is actually who BBVA or Compass Bank used, but I can see that both of these, they serve these documents for the bank. I'm not sure, though, if there was a relationship between CT Corporation and BBVA, but based on these documents, these were served for the bank. I'm not sure if the bank had, like, let's say, a relationship with this company that CT Corporation did all of them, but these two do reflect that.
So how is your testimony on bank documents relevant to a production that you can't validate as a production?
Based on the affidavit that I saw, signed, by BBVA and notarized by BBVA with the documents that were stated with the DVD and in the affidavit and the attachments, that those are actual documents produced from BBVA Compass's records.
What ties that affidavit to that production?
The number of documents that were on the affidavit, along with the account statements and all the attachments, like the checks and the that were deposited or written or anything else, legal documentation for the businesses, and the number of pages that were included on those documents.
There would be no tracking number, no other identifiable number to identify that in affidavit in relation to that stack of exhibits 1 through 14 yesterday that you said was produced from a subpoena, but you can't validate a subpoena. Is that correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Compound question.
Sustained.
Did you substantiate or testify yesterday that that affidavit is from the production of documents 1 through 14 yesterday?
I certified that or stated that that's an affidavit that stated what the bank produced and then compared the documents and the page numbers with that.
Okay. If I showed you a book that had 970 pages in it and set beside that affidavit, would you state the same thing, that that affidavit could have produced that book?
I would have to look at those documents again just to see what.
Sir, you looked through them yesterday.
Yeah,
lengthy, okay?
I'm comfortable that those were copies of all the accounts.
And I'm asking you how that affidavit directly reflects that that is the production from the affidavit.
Asked and answered, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Okay. So you, at first, when in your department, subpoenas and requests come through you, correct?
They can come through me. They can come through various bank employees. Yes.
I don't mean you personally. I mean your department.
Okay. Yes.
And you would review the subpoena to see if it was the department for the request or if it was a valid subpoena being sent to the bank?
Yeah, we'd review the documentation that was presented and determine what it is. So, for example, if it's a subpoena, and then we would forward that on to our subpoena processing department.
Would there be any indicators that a subpoena could be forged or not meeting the...
Well, what would happen is if we're served with a subpoena in the branch or in my department or myself, we look to see what that is, and then we submit it to the area that would process that, who, for example, again, the subpoena processing department, and then they would review the documentation to ensure that it, review what was presented to make sure that it is accurate and they could, move forward with it, and they would do all the processing from that point. We would just be receiving the document and then sending it to where it needs to go, and then the bank would take, work on that from there. And if they had questions, we're just forwarding the document and ensuring that it gets there timely and
So
and
risk,
they do receive it.
risk management is just a document forwarder.
Objection, argumentative, Your Honor.
Overruled, I'll allow if you can answer.
We, in my position and in our position that would handle that, we're not reviewing documents for the legal documents and making determinations. That would not be something we would do. We would send it on to the people that actually process those and, work on those, and they would look to see if they're accurate or if they looked forged, for example.
So if you received a document like this and supposedly alleging seals and court stamps, you are trained to identify if it's forged or not?
No, we would not be in my position. I would not be looking to see if it's forged or it's accurate or questioning. We just need to get them to the area of the bank that would process that would be the experts on managing and working the subpoena.
So BBVA has spell safes for forged documents, or had, since they're no longer.
Yeah, so that's why these documents need to go to the area of the bank that would actually process them, that are experts on processing the subpoena and reviewing them and make, see what is being requested and acting on that. But I would not be reviewing, or my area would not be reviewing to see if the document is, question whether it's accurate or forged or complete.
So can you explain to me how your testimony is relevant to a stack of documents if you cannot validate the origination of those documents?
I reviewed the exhibits along with the affidavit and reviewed every account and statement that I'm very familiar with. And those are BBVA Compass copies of statements and deposit slips and such that we work with.
On these documents here, you stated that it shows a production history of these documents, correct? Prior ones?
Yes, yesterday? Yeah, there were, if I was going to quote dates, I'd have to, okay, I'm sorry, it's right there. So, yes, that shows a docket history, documents served. There's a subpoena by the process server on 2/13/19 to Steve Geisler, Senior, Compass Bank.
So that states there was a prior subpoena from that request, correct?
That is correct.
And then you stated as well yesterday, according to this one, that there's 2 prior subpoenas prior to this request.
That is correct. There's the first one on the top, a subpoena by process server on 5/20/2019 to Michael Clemmer at Compass Bank. And then it also reflects the previous one of subpoena dated 2/13/2019 by Steve Geisler at Compass Bank.
On this document, what's the date on this one?
October 19th, 2017.
Would you agree that this is the most current subpoena asking for prior subpoenas?
Well, it is dated July 2nd, 2019. I don't know if that's the most recent one, but on this document dated 7/2/2019, it reflects 2 subpoenas, the one dated February 13th, 2019, and the one dated May 20th, 2019.
The most current date that you've been showed, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Is this date on the history of the request for subpoenas?
October 19th, 2017 is not on the document that is being shown.
Would that not indicate that when a request for all subpoenas in a litigation, that they would produce all subpoenas from BBVA?
Well, this is not something that I would prepare, so I don't know if it could appear differently. I couldn't really say that for a fact, but the date does not appear on this document.
So if this document stated all subpoenas that had been issued from BBVA, the production from a subpoena issued, why would the 10/17 or the October 19th date not be on there?
I am not sure why it's not listed, or because I wasn't familiar with that prior document that you're showing or had showed. I'm not sure why that date isn't reflected there.
Would it reflect the fact that it was never served upon BBVA, this subpoena?
I don't know that to state that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Redirect.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Mercurio, you've been asked a lot of questions by Mr. Casavelli under cross-examination. You mentioned that yesterday that you did an analysis in regard to the produced records. Do I remember that correctly?
Yes.
And what did your analysis involve in terms of determining whether the records you produced were accurate?
So I'm very familiar with copies of, statements and documents that we would, provide to clients. So what I did yesterday is I looked at all of the exhibits, and I looked through all the pages in the exhibits to view the statements along with the documents that were included with the statements, which would have been, let's say, checks, withdrawal slips, deposit slips, items deposited to the accounts. And in the case of a business account, it had legal documentation as well. So I reviewed all of the exhibits and very familiar with all of the copies, as far as the what was presented, that those are types of documents that we present to clients or give to clients if they requested for copies of information on their account, or if we were asked to provide copies legally on accounts. So I was very familiar with everything that was presented as far as the presentation of what was there as far as how it looked.
And was that review done in accordance with established procedures by BBVA Compass Bank?
Yes.
And was that to ensure that BBVA Compass Bank followed its established procedures in responding to a subpoena or a request?
Yes.
And what are the standard procedures, if you know?
As far as, receiving, let's say, a subpoena, and I may be repeating some things that I've said, but, with a bank, if we're served with a subpoena, it could be directly to the bank in a subpoena processing department. It could be through mail. It could be through email. It could be presented at one of our branches, to one of our employees. And we review the subpoena and to determine what it is. We're not making any determinations at that point, but we're reviewing the subpoena, and then it's important that we're forwarding the subpoena to the area of the bank that processes the subpoenas, and it is for them to review the subpoena in detail to see what is being asked, if it's, if there are questions, if it's, as we mentioned, if it would be fraudulent or any questions from the bank, and then they would, in that area, would manage that subpoena at that point.
Based on your analysis, were those standard procedures followed in this instance?
Yes.
All right. Was anything at all done out of the ordinary in providing the documents that comprise Exhibits 1 through 14 and 77?
No.
based on your review, did BBVA Compass Bank produce true and accurate copies of its banking records for the 14 accounts that are shown up on the easel there and exhibits 1 through 14?
Yes.
Is exhibit number 77 the bank's standard electronic business records affidavit?
Yes.
Excuse me.
And
Object.
What's your
Exhibit-
objection?
Exhibit 77 hasn't been admitted.
It has been admitted.
It has. It's on the list. That was one of the first ones.
you were shown this morning exhibit number 121 by Mr. Casavelli. Did your subpoena processing department in any way reject exhibit number 121?
I did not see that they, make sure I'm thinking of the correct item, but it does show that it was served upon the bank on page 2. I don't know if I'm answering that correctly.
You have exhibit 121 in front of
Do you
you?
have it before you, or was it taken back?
You have exhibit 121.
It's not here.
Just want to make sure I'm answering this,
Need to return the
if
exhibit.
I understand the,
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to put it on the overhead here so you can see it. You testified just a few moments ago that about this exhibit 121, which appears to be a subpoena from our office. Did you, and this is the one I'm asking about specifically, and I'll turn the page here so you can
Okay.
see more of that.
Sure.
Was this subpoena in any way rejected by Compass Bank?
no.
Thank you, sir. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
May this witness be excused?
Subject to recall if needed.
You bet. Thank you, sir. You are excused.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have any additional witnesses?
I do, Your Honor.
You're welcome to call your next witness.
Thank you. Let me step out in the hall. Your Honor, we're calling Lori Fickus to the stand.
Can you spell the last name, please?
Lori is Lori. Fickus is Ficaes.
Object, Your Honor. That witness was never disclosed to us, and it wasn't on the exhibit list
Who is this?
or the
person?
witness list.
She is here as a custodian of record for U.S. Bank, and U.S. Bank has been disclosed. They did a certificate of custodian of records as well, and she's here to testify on behalf of the bank in that regard.
Thank you. Your objection is overruled. Good morning, ma'am. Good morning. Would you please raise your right hand to be sworn? You do solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God? I do. Thank you. We have some water here if you need it, and please talk into the mic.
Thank you.
Counsel, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ma'am, could you please state your name?
Lori Fickus.
And where do you work at, please?
I work at Banner Health.
I'm sorry, I said U.S. Bank, and it's Banner Health. My apologies, Your Honor. And I'm sorry for the confusion. And there is no certificate of custodian of records for this particular.
Okay, so she's from Banner Health and she's not a custodian of records. Was she disclosed as a witness?
She is a custodian of records, but there's no certificate that was prepared.
So she's custodian of records with Banner Health.
Yes, ma'am.
Same objection?
Not disclosed, Your Honor. It's never disclosed to us.
As custodian of records for Banner Health, overruled. She may testify.
All right, Ms. Fickus, sorry, I got confused there for a moment. Where do you work again, please?
Banner Health.
And what do you do at your place of employment?
I am the custodian of records. We release medical records to patients and or other requesters.
All right. And when you release those records, are the records that you keep, are they a kind of memorandum, report, record, or data compilation in some form?
Correct.
And do the records your business produce constitute a memorandum, report, record, or data compilation?
Correct.
And were the records that you released to Mr. and Mrs. Johansson made by a person with knowledge of the facts or made from information transmitted by a person with knowledge of the facts?
Correct.
Were the records in the exhibits I'm going to show you made at or near the time of the acts, events, conditions, opinions, or diagnosis appearing in it?
Correct.
Are your records in this exhibit, in the exhibits I will be showing you, made as part of the regular practice of the Banner Health and its employees?
That is correct.
And are the records in the exhibits I'm going to show you kept in the course of a regularly conducted business activity?
It is.
All right. Give me just a moment to dig up your records here. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes, sir. You have to show defendants and say the number.
Exhibit number 63, please. May I approach?
You may.
Showing you what's marked as exhibit number 63. If you take a look at those, please. Thank you. Having reviewed exhibit number 63, those records are they part of the records that you disclosed to Mr. and Mrs. Johansson from one of their medical record files?
They are.
They are. And can you verify that these are true and accurate copies of what you disclosed at the request of Mr. and Mrs. Johansson?
These records were disclosed at the location, at the clinic, and yes, they were done accurately.
Thank you. Showing you exhibit 64. May I approach?
You may.
Showing what's marked as exhibit number 64, please. Take a look at those. Having reviewed exhibit number 64, can you verify that those are records that were produced by Banner Health?
They are.
And can you verify that these are true and accurate copies of the records that are kept at Banner Health for this particular set of exhibits?
Yes, per Banner policy, it would have been released in accordance to policy and accuracy.
Okay, and what is that policy on accuracy?
The policy is to release what was requested according to the HIPAA Federation laws.
Okay. And is there a specific policy on accuracy, how accurate the records need to be?
No, there isn't.
They just have to be accurate.
Correct.
And in photocopying the documents, is that ensure the accuracy of the documents of the originals?
We try to do the best that we can with the document type that it comes in. If the patient were to come in with a piece of document that came from another provider, it's always dependent on how that quality is from that provider. But if it was created by Banner Health, yes, it would be in good quality.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
To object to this exhibit, Your Honor, it's out of the time frame, relevant time frame.
Response?
Your Honor, what we've done is produce medical records both before, and I don't know which time frame they're talking. I don't know if they're talking earlier than the events here or after, but we tried to provide a comprehensive set of medical records for Mr. Johansson and Ms. Johansson so that that could be reviewed appropriately by our expert witness.
Your Honor, these are all dated after this lawsuit was filed.
He's trying
Those records are
vulnerability.
after this lawsuit.
Is that correct, counsel?
It is correct, Your Honor. It was done on April 18th, 2018, but our expert witness uses this as part of determining the overall trajectory of the person who is.
I need to hear his answer. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The witness will testify about the overall trajectory of the Lewy body dementia that Mr. Johansson suffered from. And so it's helpful to her in seeing both before this case started and even before the events that took place in this case, all the way up through the last time that she has a chance to review these notes.
Over your objection, it's allowed. Go ahead and talk about the documents.
Exhibit number 65 is showing you. If you take a look at those, please. Having reviewed exhibit number 65, can you confirm that these are true and accurate copies of the records that Banner Health has?
It is true records that have been kept by Banner Health and accurate in releasing when we release to the patient.
Thank you. Showing you exhibit 66.
Object again, Your Honor. These are outside the relevant time frame.
Same argument, Your Honor. The expert witness needs this because she can help anticipate the trajectory of the Lewy body dementia that Mr. Johansson was diagnosed with.
The objection is overruled.
What?
You may.
Showing you exhibit number 66.
Not the judge.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this brings us to our morning break time. It is 10:45. You will be on break until 11 o'clock. Please remember the admonition. We'll see you back here at 11.
All rise.
Thank you. Please be seated. Let the record reflect the jurors are excused. We are in the presence of the witness as well as counsel and the parties. All right, this is our morning break. We'll be on break until 11 o'clock. Counsel, you're welcome to have your witness review the exhibits during this time, so that way the jurors aren't sitting here watching her review them.
Thank you, Your Honor.
If you'd like to have her do that.
I'll have her do that. Thank you.
Does this count against his time, Your Honor?
Does this count against this time? No, we can have her not look at them, and then the jurors can sit here and just watch the clock run while she looks through the documents if you prefer.
May I ask you why he gets to run with the time for us with his
Oh,
resistance?
right, go ahead, everyone step out in the hallway. You'll have to do it when you come back. Thank you.
I didn't
We're on
say that,
break.
Your Honor.
Step out, thank you.
Okay, yes, this is way.
We're doing it your way,
I
so,
didn't ask that, I simply asked a question, Your Honor.
thank you. We're on break.
Move around.
Yeah.
Use the restroom. An hour and 15 minutes.
Thank you.